So yeah, we are operating out of Ireland, of course, operate in Ireland, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa on about 5,000 projects currently. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, lots of project value in there, and of course we're tracking lots of material, so we'll be interested in that. And today we'll have a look at how we do that today. We're backed by Enterprise Ireland, the local Irish government. Nemetschek are a large corporate construction software group, and we are backed by venture capitalists in London as well, all related to construction. Okay, so invoice process and automation simply uses digital tools or processes to eliminate the manual aspects of accounts payable. So we are literally just trying to help with the volume of invoices that construction companies receive on a day-to-day basis. These are generally, when customers will come to us, are manually keyed in to maybe an accounting software, but they leave lots of questions, you know, for generally the accounts payable person. Like if an invoice arrives in, like who ordered this, has this been delivered, have we paid the right price, you know, are we being overcharged? And then, you know, the result of all these invoices arriving in, how much have we spent on the project? So invoice automation should help with that. So just going to show you how LiveCast will handle that in a couple of scenarios as well. With a good process, we'll save 75% of time for your team in data capture, but not only that, just answering the questions, the everyday questions that we've just that I was just speaking about there as well. Reducing the invoice process and errors, you know, all that manual keying in is bound to lead to errors, potentially duplicates. We see that quite a lot. The likes of purchase orders, which we highly encourage, helps in that process, and you know, a good invoice process and automation will also help in that workflow too. Obviously, we have the opportunity then for the construction element of this. We have the opportunity then to collect data from the invoices as we go. That's something that's quite unique to LiveCast. So today we'll have a look at the capturing of invoices and receipts. Lots of updates. We've been working pretty hard on this in the last quarter. So lots of updates. I'm just going to share the software, Pat. Just let me know if you can see this screen too.
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay, cool. Okay, so for people that are familiar with LiveCast, this will look all too familiar to you. For people that are not, essentially what we are doing is tracking projects on a live basis. So setting up a budget and ultimately tracking the cost. What we're really concentrating today on is the invoicing side of that. So in our inbox, we kind of divert in our invoices from directly going to the accounting software because we need to answer those questions. And in most cases, really just trying to get proper allocation to a project. I'm just offering a simple workflow for that, you know. So we really redirect the invoices from your email to LiveCast for processing. And we're going to have two levels really of invoice extraction. One is we have our new expense scan, which just takes in really any document. Interestingly, in the last quarter, we were just taking in PDFs. We can now take in JPEGs, which is great, just so essentially pictures from the field. Number of different ways to get your documents in here. You can post them in through, you can forward them in essentially from your email address into this address here. Or if you're just using the file structure, you can just drag them into this zone that we have at the top. And either way, once they land in here, they'll start extracting some information from that. So let me just dive into one of them. So the new feature, the expense scan. Yeah, so we built this on pretty smart technology. It's optical character recognition. We are able to extract all of the text from images essentially, or PDFs. That's not quite enough because we need to understand what's what, you know. So we need to be able to pull out invoice numbers and dates, suppliers, for example, and try to understand the numbers on the document. So behind the scenes, there's a lot of machine learning, even the new buzzword, artificial intelligence, and that is learning from what it sees and improving over time. So really any document can be sent in here and we will essentially get those key values out. So generally this is the same as what you would be punching into your accounting software, but we're doing the work for you. Okay, so we'll extract all of the information, and essentially from here we're just creating a digital copy of that, and we're saying, okay, from the results here, can you create me an invoice? Okay, so this is generally what you'd be punching into your accounting software. The only difference with live cost is, of course, we would be allocating it to a cost type. So based on cost types, we can jump into any project and obviously break it down into these individual cost types just to see what the material spend was, for instance. Very simply, just assign the document to a project. I think I'm looking at the demo project today, and we might pop that into a phase. So live cost would hold various budgets. So it's not just about assigning it to a job. You may have individual budgets within that job that you want to assign this particular cost to, in this case, a receipt. Okay, we would save these as we go along, and depending on your accounting software, then we can actually post the result of that. So essentially we pass it through a workflow, taking the information from a receipt in this case, applied it to a project very simply, and then depending on the accounts package you use, we can then post that receipt to accounts. So very, very, very simple workflow. Beyond that, we have another level of scan. I've dropped in a couple of these invoices just for example. So this is the next level up. Okay, so let me just show you this document here. So again, they land in the same way. So live cost is building up a library of the most used suppliers. So every new customer that comes on, we would set up these documents to accurately take out the line item contents of the document. I'll show you why that's useful as we go through here. But generally, we see this is used for material suppliers, because we're interested in the line item detail, not so much for receipts, not much value in the information as such. The difference here is that we also, for the accounts payable, will pick up the purchase order number that lives in the document. That will auto assign it then to the project, and more specifically to the phase. So that's where most companies will come to us. They'll have the project budget, or they might have a job reference at that point when the invoice comes in. That's okay. It just means we're assigning the invoice to a project, but it doesn't really dig down into anything lower level than that or more granular. So as I said, with the live cost projects, we have the opportunity to break that project budget down into parts or phases, as we call them, but essentially they're just individual budgets. Just gives us that opportunity. That can be really, really difficult for accounts payable, because they wouldn't know the granular detail of what an invoice is, but certainly the person who's creating the purchase order generally would. They're the one that's placing the order. They understand what part of the job this is for. So the purchase order can actually allocate it then to that job, and then essentially to that budget as well. Okay. So same workflow essentially, except for we're taking out the line item details in this particular case. Okay, convert that into an invoice, and then the workflow at the top, the live cost kind of workflow would kick in at that point, and that's all about the answering those questions. So we said, who ordered this? So it matches itself to a purchase order. All that purchase order then information is shown to the user at that point. So all of the details, what it was ordered, we can go and view that purchase order to dig into all of the details. It's all connected, and it's all connected back to that same invoice. Okay. Same with the delivery, and we can take deliveries in from the mobile app, and those deliveries can be taken in even through the web application here. But essentially, it's people signing off and saying, we actually did receive this. This is an optional thing. It's not for every company, but a lot of companies would have this as part of their workflow. And this really just connects it to the invoice. Okay, so we've already connected the PO. We've now connected the delivery, and we can see clearly what was ordered, clearly what's being delivered to date. And obviously that can get quite complex if it's over multiple deliveries. We give the user the opportunity to store the data into the catalog as well. So the catalog is unique to each company. If I show you what we have here. So this is the reuse of data. We have a catalog here, which generally will store product information, supplier information. It can store subcontract information. The reason why we would store information would be we would reuse this information then on future purchase orders. We also have a bit of a database then of product information. The cool thing about it is that we're constantly updating the prices in here based on the invoices that we receive. So you're only building your catalog with the items that you buy regularly, and then we're constantly then updating the prices based on the invoices that we received. The other cool thing that we can do, if I go back to the PO, let me just go back and have a look at this PO. We can store these items, and we can also build pretty cool lists. So we have a list of a common order. You know, you might be ordering a roof for the house. It might be a first fixed batch of, you know, copper and pipe work essentially for a house. You can build up a common list here and store the information then as a template, meaning that we can kind of create purchase orders then nice and quickly on the back side. Any questions, Pat?
Yeah, so I've got one here. What kind of format does the invoices have to be?
Yeah, so only PDFs generally. So where we see most of the automation happening, I suppose, is that the invoices are arriving into an accounts email address, generally in PDF format, and they're generally nice and clean copies. You know, they're not printed out, for example. Obviously, if we take in documents that are printed out, the results can be mixed. So getting the clean PDF version. So generally the suppliers are sending those on to your accounts email. We can set up auto forwarding from the accounts email to this unique live cost email address. Like also, you know, we'd see the email address here being actually given directly to the suppliers alongside your accounts email. I mean, this is not, it's not an email messaging service as such. It's more just kind of pick up the attachments that are on the email and take them in as invoices. So we would advise them to kind of keep the messaging in your email. So if there is any body to the message, like if the suppliers, you know, has any comments on it, we're gonna lose that if we directly send them in here. So at the moment it's PDFs that we take in, but you know, Word documents can be converted to a PDF and obviously sent in as well.
Well, thank you.
Cool. I think we have pretty much ran through most of the small bits of workflow. Is there any other questions in there, Pat?
Yeah, there is one here. Is that, can you send receipts from the mobile app to the inbox?
Currently, no, but we're working on a new feature right at the moment. So we're expecting release of that actually next month. So we're going to add in the ability to capture receipts. The receipts will land in here for processing in exactly the same way. So the lads will be able to send in the diesel receipts that they get directly from the mobile app as well.
I have another one here as well. Is that, can you get full auto on subcontractor invoices?
You can to a point. So we the data that we're picking up here is generally used for a couple of reasons. Let me just dig into that. If we just go to this one here, for example, so we would allow obviously, when a user starts with live costs, the catalog is empty. There's a couple of different ways of populating that catalog. If we go to the catalog here, it's going to be empty. Obviously, the categorization of the catalog is unique to each company. This is just a representation of what a builder's catalog might look like. You can obviously take in imports of items. So if you're lucky enough to be able to get a list in CSV format from your supplier, we can take that in and upload it to the catalog. So that's going to do a couple of things. It's going to make available those items for your purchase orders, okay? And obviously we're storing the information in here. So if we want to search for items in here, we'll get the value of the items and all of the history as well. So we're storing every time we see this item, for example, we're storing the price and the price increases that we see through time. When the invoice lands in from a particular supplier, live cost merchants in this case, we're price checking the product codes that we see here against the catalog items. Okay, so very simple. Red is obviously an increase, and so we'll show you the price increases and essentially where they happened through time as well. Okay, so the issue with setting up, not an issue with setting up subcontract, is generally the information is a one-liner. It'll be as per quote or something like that. So there's no particular value in extracting the line items in that case. They hold no value in the catalog. We can't reuse them. We can't price check them against anything else. So we would see subcontractors or one-offs, if you like, being used in the expense scan, where we just had the receipt and just getting the key values just to speed up processing. But we would set up those main suppliers where we think we're going to get use of the line item extraction. Essentially, that's what we would see more commonly.
I'm not sure if you answered this one already. I have one here saying, how do you get the supplier invoices into the inbox?
Yeah, a couple of different ways. I would say it's all about receiving them into generally your accounts at email. You can auto forward from there to this email address, and that's one option. You can give that email address directly to your suppliers alongside your accounts at. Other than that, you can actually drag them into this zone at the top here, or just click on it if you're storing them locally in your file folder. You can just drag them in from there, and they'll do an extraction. The extraction itself takes about 30 seconds to a minute. Doesn't necessarily have to be one at a time. If you had 10 invoices, it will still do an extraction and still take about a minute to do that extraction.
Well, okay, I think that's me. There's no questions left in here.
Yeah, cool. Short and sweet, everybody. I hope you got some use out of the webinar today. We will keep going with this. We will do another one next month. So obviously, if anybody has any suggestions for any parts that you'd like us to dig into a little bit more, feel free to send us a message at support at livecost.com.
Sorry, Niall, just a very quick one after popping in there. Is it similar to the projects feature in the Zero?
Is it similar to the projects feature in Zero? It's just way more in depth. Projects feature in Zero is allowing you to essentially tag invoices that they belong to a project. That's okay, but the detail here is just way more in depth. If we take any project that's kind of busy here, we're not just tagging them, we're associating them with individual budgets on a project and just giving way more detail and a lot about managing committed costs against that project. Zero projects will fall down, and that it's a very, very simple workflow, but it wouldn't be up to task, in my opinion, for anything that's doing volume.
Okay, thank you for that, Niall.
No worries. I hope you got it short and sweet, but I hope somebody got something useful out of it. Obviously, if you're new to LiveCost, feel free to send me a message personally, niall@livecost.com or support@livecost.com. But hopefully we'll see you soon on the next webinar.
Yeah, thanks for joining, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye.